What's going on, guys? Jordan here at Totally Bored, and today I want to take you guys through my July 2023 playthroughs for the month. I had a lot of really fun games that I got to play with a lot of really fun people, so looking forward to showing you guys this. Before I do that, I do just want to throw up my stats for June. So if you guys see here, I played 11 different games and 20 different plays, so got to play a lot of really cool games. If you look down here, A Feast for Odin, that is currently my #1 game of all time. Played that 6 times, played it for 12 hours. Played a lot of other fun games as well. I played Dune Imperium for the first time. I played Reykholt, which is a newer Uwe Rosenberg title. It is a farming game, which is pretty normal for him. Also played The Castles of Burgundy, which is a classic. Played that for the first time. And then a few other games, but let's go ahead and get into July here. So as you can already tell at the top here, I played double the amount of games as I did in June. So 22 different plays here, 22 different games with 33 different plays. And for a total of 52 hours, which is crazy. In June, I played for, let's see, what was it? 24. So yeah, definitely played a lot more this month. In July, excuse me. And it was incredible. I had a really fun time, played a lot of really, really cool games. And so let's go ahead and take a look down here. I'm going to show you guys what I played. Let's go ahead and start at the bottom. You kind of already saw that, but we'll go ahead through the kind of shorter games because this does filter by hours. So I played So Clover, which is a fun little word game. It kind of reminds me of Codenames, but I thought it was actually a lot better than Codenames. Played through this once for 19 minutes, but it's a really, really great party game where each person gets a 4-leaf clover and there's a selection of words. There's actually 4 tiles that you place on your board, and you're connecting words on each side of the tile. And then you write a clue that connects both of those words. And then after you do that for each of the different sides, you take your cards off, you add a card from the pile, shuffle it up, and then you put it in the middle of the table. And then the other players have to sort through the tiles on your board and then put them in the correct places in order to get the correct hint. So it's a really clever game. And it's like nothing I've ever played, and I really, really enjoyed it. So shout out Drift for that one. That was a really cool game. I did also play Machi Koro, which is a cool little, very light, I don't even know what you would call this, but you have it's kind of like a drafting game, I guess, where there is a big bank of cards, and essentially they're all different building types, and you're building up your different income, and you're building up different things in order to then upgrade your buildings and add more buildings. So it's a fun game. I think I preferred So Clover out of those two, but Machi Koro was fun. It was a cool little filler game. But I also played Splendor, the Marvel version. I had only played the tutorial of Splendor on BGA, so this was like my first real game of Splendor, and it was cool. I won, so I mean, I like it, right? If I lost it, not sure how I'd feel about it, but yeah, it was a fun game. I also played The Quest for El Dorado, which if you haven't seen my review yet, I'm going to link that right here. Quest for El Dorado is great. It is a Indiana Jones-esque deck building game where you are trying to be the first player to reach the City of Gold. I love it. So check out my review if you haven't seen it, and play it if you haven't got a chance. It's great. I also played King of Tokyo, which I wasn't a big fan of. I can see how it's fun, especially for little, younger kids, or like a fun little family party game, but obviously it's like pure luck. So it was cool. Not a huge fan. It took longer than I thought, which was kind of the turnoff. It looks like I played for about an hour. And for that kind of game, I'm not like too big on it, but it was cool. Next up, we have Ethnos. So my girlfriend was really, really hyping this one up, and it lived up to the hype. It was really fun. So if you don't know what Ethnos is, this is a game where you're playing sets of cards, matching sets of cards, and every time you play these sets of cards, you're adding a token to the matching color of the cards that you played, and by the end of the round, whoever has the most tokens in each of the separate areas on the map, you get points. After the end of the 3 rounds, the person with the most points wins. And yeah, it was really fun. It's pretty light, which I liked about it. I thought just from the theme and the name. I don't know. It seemed like a really deep, like Euro, but it's not. It's a pretty lightweight, just fun game, and I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have Camel Up. Camel Up. I played this for the first time, and I did not like it. I had a really bad experience. I played it with my mom and dad, who aren't really gamers. They weren't into it. I understand, it just, you got to pick the right game for the right group, and I just missed the mark with that one. But I played it again, and it really was a big hit. So this definitely went up a couple notches in my tier list. This is a game where you guys are betting on a camel race, and by the end of the game, whoever can most accurately guess the winner of the camel race, and also whoever has the most money wins. So it's really fun. You're betting every single round, and there's a lot of cool things you can do, as well as some player interaction with the other players. So yeah, I like this game a lot. It's fun. Next up, we have Clank in Space, and this is my first time experiencing a Clank game. I do want to shout out all the people in the comments who recommended Clank. It really... Next up, we have Clank in Space, a deck building adventure. Now, this is my first time experiencing a Clank game, and it was really good. So I do want to thank everyone in the comments who recommended Clank. It lived up to the hype. It exceeded the expectations I had for this game. In this game, you are kind of a lone ranger. You do have a group of people with you, or the other people playing, but you're trying to infiltrate an enemy spaceship and steal artifacts from the ship and then escape. This is a deck building game, so you are throughout the game purchasing cards and then adding them to your deck, so the next time you shuffle your deck and draw cards, you're going to get the new cards that you just bought. It has a ton of variation. It's a modular board as well, so there's a ton of replayability, and it really solidified that I want the game really bad. I am looking for a copy of Clank Catacombs right now. I've heard that's like the most replayable. They all seem really replayable from what I've seen, but yeah, Clank Catacombs, also the theme in that kind of fits my style a little more. The space theme is decent, but I'm not huge on it. So anyways, the game's really good. So highly recommend that. Next up is Cascadia. So this is the first time I've ever played this game. I've heard about it. I know it's in Board Game Geek's top 100. It's already like top 50. And it's like a tile placement game that kind of reminds me of King Domino, if you guys have ever played that. But ultimately, you have little tiles with animal marks or animal token symbols on them, and then you actually have the animal tokens. So you're trying to match the tokens to the land, and there's a huge variety of objectives that you're trying to accomplish at the same time. And on top of that, each of the tiles has different terrain, and you get bonus points for matching up the terrain. So it's actually a lot deeper than I initially thought the game would be, and I really enjoyed it. We played it with 4 people. I felt like that was maybe a little high for the player count. It took it took about an hour, it says, which seemed like a long time, but it didn't seem like too long. But I think it would probably play better at like 2 to 3. But either way, had a really fun time with it. I did finally get to play Lost Ruins of Arnak as well. So that is the winner of the Choose My Next Board Game video I did a few weekends ago. So shout out to everyone who voted. The game is really good. I actually played this on Board Game Arena. I haven't even had a time or a chance to play this in person yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. I even bought the Expeditions expansion, so now I have the different the different characters, each with their own unique abilities. So I'm really hyped to try that out. I played this on BGA. It was a little confusing. I did the tutorial, but I don't know, when I got into the game, it was a little overwhelming. But I think, when it comes to BGA, I'm timed and I'm playing with different people. So I kind of had that pressure to kind of figure out what I was doing on the fly. It was a good experience, but I'm really looking forward to playing it a little slower, playing it in person, playing it with some friends of mine, and getting accustomed to the strategy and just the overall board. But the theme is beautiful. It is a worker placement deck builder, similar but very different to Dune Imperium, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But The Lost Ruins of Arnak is really fun. Super hyped to play that again. Next up, we have Dead of Winter. I got to play this with a few work friends a few days ago, actually, and it's amazing. The game's great. If you've never played it, it is a zombie survival game where you're trying to survive from zombies, but at the same time, you're trying to survive the harshness of the winter And it has social deduction elements, which is really fun. You're all working towards the same objective, but there could be one betrayer in the game and you don't know who it is. There may not be. So the whole time you're like, you have no idea. It's crazy. I love the game. Super fun. Next up, I did play World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. Excuse me. This does use the Pandemic system, so if you've ever played Pandemic, you would know pretty much how to play World of Warcraft. The main difference in this one is that, well, it takes place in the World of Warcraft, but anytime you would cure a disease in the regular Pandemic, in this one you are fighting or killing enemies. So it works the same way, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I actually liked it, the theme, more than the OG Pandemic, but still, it's at the end of the day Pandemic, so if you like it, you would like this. I also got to play Earth for the first time. That was a gift I got from my girlfriend, and we busted it out and played it with her and her brother, and it was really good. It was a little overwhelming for me. It is a tableau builder. It gets compared a lot to Terraforming Mars and Wingspan. And I would say in my kind of tier list of those three, Wingspan's at the bottom, Earth's in the middle, and then Terraforming Mars is still at the top. I did prefer it to Earth. Earth, the theme is really cool, but I don't know, the tableau building in it just was a little clunky from my experience. It was my first time, so that could be why as well. But it was still fun. I think I need to give it another go to kind of really, really see like how it is. But yeah, it was really fun. Number 9. Now, this one I'm so hyped for. So this is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. This was, if you saw my last video, my July haul, I got a lot of new board games. One of them was Pandemic Legacy, and this game's so fun, so much fun. If you've ever played the the OG Pandemic game, which in my opinion, it's like a 6. I think it's decent. It's an okay game. I'm not hugely into it. I think after you've played it a few times, it gets a little boring. But Pandemic Legacy, the stakes are at an all-time high. It is, at the end of the day, the same core gameplay, but things are happening in the game that are permanent changes. So you're ripping up cards, you are putting stickers on the board, and if you lose, there are permanent effects that happen. And I think that has really skyrocketed this version of the game for me very high. It's very, very high right now. I obviously am going to play through the whole campaign. I don't know if we're going to win. I don't know. I'm playing this with 3 other people, and we loved it. Super hyped to play this again. If you haven't played this and you remotely like Pandemic, please get it. It's phenomenal. And I've only played it once, and it's just so good. So we'll see how it turns out. If you take my advice and you end up hating it, I'm sorry. So, take anything I say with a grain of salt. But moving on here, we have Black Orchestra. So Black Orchestra is a cooperative game where you are trying to kill Hitler. That's the ultimate goal. If you've ever played Horrified, it seems very, very similar to Horrified in my opinion, but it's just a different theme, obviously more mature theme. But in Black Orchestra, each player takes on the role of various people. You can be civilians that were very popular figures in Germany during World War II. You can be generals in Hitler's army. There's a lot of different people you can be. And throughout the map of Germany, you have various different cities you can visit, and there are items in each of these cities where you can collect them and use them for different plots. And these plots are ultimately ways that you can kill Hitler. And on the plots, there are certain requirements that you have to fulfill. And yeah, it's really fun. I think I like it more than Horrified. I haven't really given that a lot of thought. Horrified's great too. But I really like the theme of Black Orchestra more. The cards have real historic pictures on them. I thought that was a really nice touch. And yeah, it's a great game. I really liked it. I've only played it once, so I've got to play it again, but really, really enjoyed my first playthrough. Number 7, here we have Catan. Catan's a classic. Catan is fun, decent, I should say. I don't hate the game. I would probably never play this game unless I'm playing with new players or they really want to play, which I will do it for sure. I'm not going to like pout and complain about it, but it's a fun game. I think the main issue with me and Catan is it goes on too long. It's such a long game. I think they could, if they cut it in half somehow, I don't know how that would how that would work, but if they could do that, it would be higher up on my tier list. But Catan, yeah, it's a classic. Next up, we have Horrified, which I kind of briefly talked about. Played that yesterday as of the time I recorded this video, and had a really good time. Actually, in this video, in this playthrough, I didn't play. I forgot. I just taught the game. So we showed up. I brought a bunch of games for 5 players, and we ended up having 6. So they were all pretty new to board games. I think a few of them have played Catan, and that was about it. So I taught Horrified. This is, the American Monsters version, and they loved it. It was so fun to just watch them interact, see the dynamic between people. There were like fights going on. They were trying to figure out the best course of action. It was really fun. So I don't know. I feel like I want to start doing that more. Teaching's always fun. I really enjoy it. But when you teach, you obviously, a lot of energy goes into it because you're trying to make sure all of the other players are, playing correctly and not messing up any rules. So it was nice to just sit back and not have to worry about playing, but just focusing on teaching and just answering questions and then watching. So Horrified. Had a really good time with that. Moving on up here, I'm going to tackle both of these two at the same time. So this is Terra Mystica and Gaia Project, which, if you're unfamiliar with these games, Gaia Project is essentially a re-theme of Terra Mystica. Gaia Project's in space. Terra Mystica is more fantasy themed, but it is ultimately a game where, first of all, you have several different factions. There are over 10 factions in each game. I know that. I don't have the exact number, but and with each of these factions, there are certain lands that they require you to build on. And in the game itself, there are like 7 different lands or terrain that you can build on. So you're having to terraform the land and then build your own buildings onto the land of your faction. And it's kind of reminds me of Catan, but like on crack. This game's like, both of these games are very deep, very heavy Euro, almost no luck at all. There's really no luck. And they actually boast about that. Like on the package, I think they even talk about that. Only got to play these once a piece. I really like these a lot. A lot. I actually pre-ordered Age of Innovation, which is coming out, I think, retail late August, early September, but it's actually going to be sold at Gen Con. So if you can get your hands on it, that would be dope. Send it my way. I'll send you money. All good. Transaction approved. No, but for real, these games are really fun. They're deep, they're heavy, they're long, but they are phenomenal. I had such a good time playing these. I'm really looking forward to playing them again. The hard part is that getting your group together for a game this deep and intense might be a little tricky. It is for me. I know they're both available on Board Game Arena, so if you guys haven't played them, you should check them out. I know Terra Mystica, it came out in 2012, so it's a bit older, but it has a very established competitive scene, just a very established strategy in the game. I think Gaia Project's quite a bit more forgiving. It's still deep and very, very complicated, but I wouldn't even say complicated. It's just very deep, and a lot of strategy goes into it. But honestly, if you had to choose between these, I would say whatever theme you like more. I prefer Terra Mystica just because I like the fantasy theme, but I think Gaia Project is probably the better game. Very similar, but it's just a little more, I wouldn't say streamlined, but just, like I said, user-friendly, and it's a newer game, so it's a little more polished, I would say. Terra Mystica is pretty mean. There are ways that you can cut off the other players around the board. It's very cutthroat, very brutal. It's not quite like that in Gaia Project. So if you're interested in either of these, take your pick on the theme. If you want something a little more open-ended, I'd say go Gaia Project. If you want something very just heavy, competitive, and very established, Terra Mystica. Next up, we have Dune Imperium. So I played this twice this month. I got wrecked both of these times. I actually tied for third on one of the playthroughs, so I didn't get wrecked, but I didn't win. But this game's still incredible. I started choking, so if you see a cut right there, that's what happened. I had to take a drink of water. But yeah, Dune Imperium. This is a worker placement deck building game in the Dune universe. It is a competitive game where you are trying to build up reputation you have with the 4 different factions, and at the same time, every round you're fighting in conquest, or what do they call it? Conquest? Combat? I'm not really sure what they refer to it as, but you're fighting each other, and it's really fun. It's very high stakes. You're trying to get 10 victory points, and the cool thing is the victory points will fluctuate. So there's ways that you can steal victory points. There are a lot of different ways you can earn victory points, and it's really fun. I am sold already. I've only played this 3 times. It's very, very good. Very fun game. I would recommend it at 3 to 4. I have not played it at 2, but I know 2 and 1 you have to use an AI opponent, which I'm not big on that. I wouldn't really be interested, but 3 to 4, whew, fire. This game is fire. Next up, we have Kingdomino, which is weird. That's number 2. I guess it's not the most time played, but it's the second most played. Played it 3 times. The game is very short. If you've never played the game before, it is similar in a way to Cascadia, but it's just dominoes. Instead of dominoes, you have little tiles that have 2 different lands printed on each side, and you're trying to make a 5x5 grid around your castle, and you get bonus points for connecting lands of the same type. It's a really fun, lightweight game. I think it takes, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes, if that, 10. I don't know. It's really good, though. It's fun. It's low-key. I really recommend it if you want something light, something to play while you're drinking coffee in the morning with your boo-thang. It's good. I recommend it. And yeah, coming in at number 1, we have Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. I played this a lot more than anything else. So it's apparently 17 hours, which is really long. Played this 9 times. This game is incredible. I did not know what to expect really going into this game. I also bought this if you saw my July haul video, this was a recent purchase. And yeah, I initially thought it was going to be similar to Gloomhaven. It's really not. It is its own game. It's very different. It is more an exploration type game. You are, I wouldn't say discouraged from fighting, but fighting is very punishing, and it's kind of like a last resort type thing. But the story is very engaging. It is an app-driven game, which I was turned off from at first, but it really doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't get in the way of things. It really adds to it, which I was surprised. But yeah, you are working together and you're trying to complete missions. I want to say there's like 12 to 15 scenarios in the game, and it's procedurally generated, which is really, really cool. So I've played 2 different campaigns so far, and both times the campaigns, while the core mission's the same, the actual experience is very, very different. So the map layout is completely different. The side quests I was encountering were completely different. So that it knocked this game up several notches in my tier list. It's really, really fun. It really surprised me, and I'm looking forward to beating this. One thing I have to note is I actually played in both of my campaigns, I played the first 2 to 3 scenarios wrong, which I normally don't do, but I got a few pretty critical rules wrong. So we're actually restarting both of those campaigns. My friends were a little salty, but it's all good. We're going to get through it, and we're going to beat it, and I'm really excited. So those were my playthroughs for the month of July. I got a lot of different playthroughs here. 52 hours of gameplay. That's a lot for me. That's a lot in a month. So really hype about this month, and just a few things that I plan to do in the coming months. I am planning to do a 30 by 30 month where I'll be playing a new game every single day for 30 days. It's not going to be this month in August. I am going to be on a work trip for about a week straight, so I won't have any time to play while I'm there. So I'm planning to do this next month, and I will also be doing my first top 10 games of all time next month, because next month marks the 1-year anniversary of me getting into board games as a hobby. So I'm really excited. I've never done a top 10 like that. You know, I've mentioned in this video actually what my number 1 is, but who knows? That could change by next month. We'll see. And that is my July playthroughs for the month. If you guys have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments below. If you hated this video and want to punch me in the face, please dislike this and roast me in the comments. This is Jordan here at Totally Bored. We'll see you next time.